This might be controversial, but here's the truth about all of these collars, and some of you won't like it. All of these are training tools. All of them can hurt your dog. And yes, I said all. Each of these have a place in dog training, but some require more experience to use correctly. Stay tuned till the end to hear what I use on my 8 Sighthounds. As you can see, I have a variety of the most typical collars and even harnesses here. Many of these are familiar to most of you, and others may not be. A few may even fall into the "why I would never" category, and this is often due to a lack of knowledge and possibly need. Let's take a quick look at each of these. So we have our flat collars, like this. The flat collar is a basic collar made of nylon or leather. It is not typically seen as a training collar, but a dog with a sensitive neck who has not been desensitized to its feel can be taught to respond to subtle changes of pressure and even taps on the lead that travel down to the collar. How can this collar be used in an abusive manner? By jerking or even hanging the dog with it, sadly. And I've seen people do it, and it breaks my heart. As an FYI, consider not leaving a collar on your dog, because even one like that can be dangerous if caught on something or another dog gets its jaw stuck in it while playing. Next, we have the martingale collar. This is one of our fancy ones. As you can see, it tightens right here. It has an additional loop that tightens when the dog pulls, preventing the collar from slipping off. It's useful for dogs with narrow heads or those who tend to escape from regular collars. These are commonly used with Sighthounds, hint hint, same concerns as a flat collar. The head halter is another common one. It is designed to fit over the dog's snout and behind the ears, like a horse halter. It provides control over the dog's head, allowing the handler to redirect its attention. It is commonly used for dogs who pull on the leash or show aggression. I had one of these somewhere and I've used it. I do like these for many dogs, and they do work well for large dogs who like to pull, but they can learn to pull with these as well. That is a discussion for another video. Some people still feel that these are not okay because it could hurt their neck when pulling on their head. Honestly, we have only used these on mature giant breeds, and I know darn well their neck muscles can handle our gentle redirection. Next, we have the chain slip collar, also known as a choke chain, appropriately, that tightens when pulled. It is typically used for correction purposes or in the conformation ring. It should be used under the guidance of a professional trainer before learning to use it, so you can learn to use it, and it should be never ever left on a dog unattended. These are often used in training, and dogs often learn to alter their behavior with just the sound of the collar moving as a result of the leash movement by the handler. In conformation, this collar is smaller, and it sits right behind the ears, making it more effective because this area is more sensitive. I can control my 160-pound wolfhound with this. Not a collar, but similar to a choke chain is the slip lead. So we have this right here, same thing. Works just like a choke chain, but without the noise. How can these be abused? Unfortunately, by hanging the dog with it, or just the general fact that there is not a stop with the choke chain. Next, we have the very controversial prong collar. The prong collar is a metal collar, but pinches the dog's neck when pressure is applied. It should only be used for dogs with persistent pulling issues and under the supervision of a professional trainer. It pokes the neck in a controlled manner for communicating with a more strong-willed or larger dogs. It is actually less abusive than a choke collar because it has a stop. It pinches rather than squeezes the neck, in contrast to choking a dog. In my experience, it's less cruel to use a tool that communicates effectively with less force, and a pinch collar does do that, especially with a giant breed dog or a strong-willed dog. I have seen many giant breed people use this type of collar and be shamed for it because their dog is too much for them for any number of reasons. Owner's health, owner's age, as well as the energy of the dog they are trying to control. Quit shaming people for using a collar that makes it possible for them to continue to enjoy the dog they love. Next is the oh-so-shocking shock collar, also known as an electronic collar. It delivers a pulsing sensation or an electric stimulation to the dog's neck with these prongs. It has its place in many training disciplines, but it requires working with an experienced dog trainer who knows how to use it appropriately. It is commonly used with the hunting dog communities because the dogs are working at a distance from the handler. Use of this type of collar without professional guidance can lead to more issues rather than less. It needs to be used to guide and not to punish, and this requires professional knowledge. For example, shocking a dog for being aggressive to another dog often leads to more aggression because the dog thinks the other dog is causing their discomfort. Next, we have the harness. We like to use these with puppies who don't have leash manners yet, so we can preserve the neck to be more sensitive for future leash training. So we have a little one for our silken puppies. Keep in mind, dog harnesses are also used for sled dogs, so some pulling can be expected, but you can simply redirect the dog by stopping forward motion when they pull. We also use these for scent work and tracking. Just like the flat buckle collar, it indicates what activity you're about to participate in. This is Kieran's for scent work. Make sure it does not interfere with shoulder movement and development. You don't want to leave these on your dog. Proper fit is important. So now you're probably wondering, she has all of these collars. Which one does she use? Great question. As I said, with puppies, we like to use a harness to preserve the neck sensitivity for future training. We leave fat buckle collars off, except for during training or when leaving the property. We put these on specifically during obedience training to indicate what behaviors are expected, in contrast to conformation, where we use the small choke chain that tells the dog what cues to expect. They quickly learn to differentiate between the different types of collars and what is expected. It's a silly myth you can't teach a conformation dog to sit. We often train without any lead or collar, to be honest. Training games are voluntary, and if our dog doesn't want to play that day, we honor that. If you have seen some of our other videos, you know that is rarely the case because they all love to train, something we are very thankful for. So, although we have many types of collars, our sighthounds respond best at this time to a simple martingale collar for training, a show lead and collar for conformation, and a slip lead when we are out and about. Oh, and don't forget a tracking collar. We love the Phi tracking collar. Our hounds don't leave home without one. What type of collar do you and your dog prefer? Leave me in the comments and follow for more.